You're watching Shreya talk about music.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you couldn't guess from the title, today I'm going to be talking about my life through records. So if you already know me, then like in real life, then you know that I'm really big into collecting records. You can see my family's collection back there. So my granddad and dad and uncle and brother have always been into it quite a lot. So I was quite lucky that when I started wanting to collect records, there was already like a foundation. I'm just going to get into the video. So for my childhood, I picked this one. First of all, The Sound of Music was one of mine and my cousin's favourite films when we were kids. It still is, to be honest. I listen to it a lot, like, when I'm working for some reason. Like, I find it really, like, easy to get into. Second one for my childhood is Legend by Bob Marley. So it's more of a compilation album. My dad used to be really into reggae when he was younger, and because of that, and because my brother likes it and my mum likes it as well, like reggae's kind of been like a genre that everyone in my family can listen to. Obviously this album is absolute gold anyway, but like it feels really sentimental for that reason. Like it's one that I really grew up with. After that, so when I started getting into music, like 2013, 2012, partly it was because my brother was at uni and I started using his iTunes and stuff on his old laptop, but also one day I just decided to put all of our like Beatles albums to digitalise them and put them on iTunes. I was really torn between which Beatles albums to put here in this list. First one is Rubber Soul. I literally used to listen to this on repeat. So that was my favourite Beatles album back in the day, but it changed a lot. Like for a while it was Sgt. Pepper and Let It Be, but right now my favourite Beatles album is Revolver. Like I love this album with all my heart. You know what, I actually bought this in Camden not that long ago for like £8. And look at it! It's so beautiful. Like I literally think it's one of the most beautiful records that I own. Moving on from the Beatles, I started getting into like kind of 60s to 80s mod kind of music. So I've got this one, sound effects. I remember there was a point in 2013 when I was on indie Twitter and my profile picture, I remember it so vividly, my profile picture was me doing like a peace sign with this album. And definitely cringeworthy, but like it's really, really good. Summer of 2013, I was obsessed with Stone Roses. Like I was so into Stone Roses. Like I had a wall of just Stone Roses posters and clippings from magazines and stupid stuff that I thought I was indie and cool and edgy for printing out, like, and sticking it all over my wall. From that Twitter community that I was so invested in, everyone was like obviously really indie, and that was what brought about my obsession with the Libertines. Like, oh my god, Libertines have been my favourite band for coming on 7 years now. Like, I love this album so much. I remember the first time I listened to it all the way through, I said to myself back then in year 7, like, this band is going to be the soundtrack to my high school years, and maybe I made some points with that statement, because Pete Doherty's solo album, this one, Grace Wastelands, this was the first record that I bought physically with like my own hands, and actually it's this album, the songs on this album that got me into songwriting, and really the Libertines were why I picked up the guitar and why I started writing my own music and everything. I had that emo phase and then I had a K-pop phase, but like a lot of other GCSE music students, this album became one of my favourites. My favourite song off is probably Lover You Should Have Come Over, and I don't know if you guys know this. If you don't, then check them out. There's about 30 different versions of that song on Spotify, and every single one is worth listening to. I love Jeff Buckley. His voice and musicianship on this album is unparalleled. There was also a Netflix show that came out summer of 2017, which I was so into before doing my exams. I'd either be watching Mock the Week or I'd be watching the Get Down, which leads me to this album, Disco Fever. So 2017 is when I really started getting into funk, soul, disco, that kind of like seriously, not just listening in dribs and drabs. That is mostly the influence of the Get Down. I just couldn't leave it out because I feel like now disco music has become such a part of my own character. Moving on from that, this one is a bit controversial. I get the piss taken out of me all the time for them being one of my favourite bands. I just get so much hate for being a U2 fan, but The Joshua Tree is honestly one of my favourite albums ever made. Again, like, it's so well crafted. Side 1 is full of the like big singles, the big hits, but side 2, I love every song on there so much that I could listen to it on repeat. I grew up with a lot of U2, obviously because my dad was a big fan and my brother was a big fan. So not only does it have those songs that I grew up with, but also the musicality is incredible. And I have the same birthday as Bono, so I'm so connected to it. And I will not stand for U2 slander. I will not stand for it, because most of the people who criticise them are just making this point about, oh, they just put their album on everyone's phones and Apple devices without, like, they made a business move. Why are you so mad? Also, that doesn't change the fact that they're one of, they're the highest grossing rock band tour. I don't really know the statistic, but they're like one of the biggest rock bands ever. So after that, for house drama, my house chose to do Mamma Mia, which was like insanely exciting because the music for that, some of my favourite music ever, and Donna in Mamma Mia is like my dream acting role, which I got to play it. Like, that's something that I still like think back to, and literally it makes me so happy. And that's why this record, ABBA Arrival, is in here as one of my more recent like influential albums, because ABBA's one of those disco groups that for me not only speak to my childhood but also like the way that I've grown up with music. So yeah. And my last one is this beautiful bossa nova album, Get Gilberto. Like, I got into bossa nova probably like last summer, but this is like the eponymous album of the genre, I think, and I think it really summarises kind of who I am this year. So that's my final installment of my life in records. I hope you guys liked this video, found it a bit entertaining listening to me talk about myself, and yeah, thanks, bye.